Could the New York Giants cut veteran running back Devin Singletary? We're going to break that idea down on the show as you're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports, and I am Marshall Green. The NFL season is right around the corner, which means teams will be having to cut their roster down from 90 to 53 players. And the good old folks over at Bleacher Report put out an article this week where they had Motor Singletary as a cut candidate for the New York Football Giants. I'll share my thoughts on that in a second, but I wanted for you guys to at least see where Bleacher Report was coming from, saying this: Dallas might not be the only NFC East team looking to move off a veteran running back this offseason. A year ago, the New York Giants signed Devin Singletary to a 3-year, $16.5 million contract, hoping that he could adequately replace Saquon Barkley, LOL. However, rookie Tyrone Tracy proved to be New York's best back, and the Giants added Cam Skattebo in this year's draft. Releasing Singletary would save $1.5 million in cap space while erasing his $5 million 2026 salary from the books. I'll just start with this. This just doesn't make much sense to me as someone that covers this team every day, scours the internet for content. This is just not something that I think makes a whole lot of sense, because they mentioned Tyrone Tracy and they mentioned Cam Skattebo. Are you only allowed to roster 2 running backs? Do the Giants only have 3 running backs on their team? We'll talk about that in a second. Let's start with this. I know that week 1 was a long time ago and week 2 was a long time ago. Devin Singletary was sneaky good last year for the New York Giants in the early part of the year. Wasn't great against the Minnesota Vikings in week 1, 10 carries for 37 yards, but he did force 2 missed tackles, and 34 of his 37 yards were after contact. I'm old enough to remember that game like it was yesterday. The New York Giants could not block them whatsoever. Week 2, though, against the Washington Commanders, 16 carries, 95 yards, a touchdown, and 10 missed tackles forced. 10 missed tackles forced in one game is a lot, ladies and gentlemen. Brutal fumble in this game that ultimately I think was the dagger for the New York Giants and why they lost that game. Week 3, 16 carries, 65 yards, a touchdown, and 5 missed tackles forced. A solid stat line for him. If you're telling me my RB3 is capable of putting up 32 carries for 2 touchdowns and 15 missed tackles forced for 160 yards in back-to-back weeks, I'll be okay with that. And I'm also old enough to remember when I made this graphic on this show, where after 2 weeks we compared Saquon Barkley and Devin Singletary. Did the graphic end up, showing what was going to come? No, we all know that Saquon's better than Singletary. I knew it at the time. I just wanted to be funny about it. But the first 2 weeks of the season, Devin Singletary made more tacklers miss. Devin Singletary averaged more yards per carry. Devin Singletary had 1 more run of 15-plus yards. And he didn't drop the game-losing pass like Saquon Barkley did. I was in my bag with that graphic. Fumbles and injuries ultimately ended his season. He wasn't able to get back fully in groove after the injuries, and the baton had already been passed to Tyrone Tracy to be the lead back for this team. But I don't want people to think that Devin Singletary is some horrible running back. Is he a little overpaid? Sure. Was he a good Saquon Barkley replacement? Not at all. Is he a really good RB3 that Cam Skattebo and Tyrone Tracy can learn from, a veteran? Absolutely. Cutting Motor to save just $1.5 million in cap space is dumb. It's just dumb. I love how Bleacher Report wrote that article like, they could save $1.5 million in cap space. Call the bank. We're rich again. Did they forget that there was a running back on this roster named Eric Gray that did not do anything last year or the year before that or the year before that? And cutting him right now would save $968,000. Or did they not know that if you waited until after June 1st, cutting Eric Gray would save $1.03 million? Or does Bleacher Report think that Eric Gray is better than Motor Singletary? That would be even worse for them. Let's not act like $470,000 is the reason the New York Giants would want to keep Singletary over Gray. Singletary is just a much better player than Eric Gray ever hopes that he can be. I know Tyrone Tracy is RB1 on this team. I think Cam Skattebo in the final 5 weeks of the year could become RB1. And I think it's a good running back room if you have Tracy, Skattebo, and Singletary. I love Dante Turbo Miller. I've always had love for him. I'm hoping he competes to make this roster. Probably not going to happen. Eric Gray is clearly the running back that is going to be cut. I think he's entering, I don't remember if he's entering year 3 or year 4 at this point. They've been very forgettable, the moments he's had. Outside of dropping passes, fumbling the football, fumbling punt returns, and fumbling kick returns. It makes no sense to cut Motor Singletary for monetary value. If we're cutting Singletary to save money, and we're only saving $1.5 million, and there's another running back on the roster that you could cut to save $1 million, the dollars, they're just not making sense right there. Question to you. Should the Giants cut Devin Motor Singletary? What do you think? Sit in the seat of Joe Shane. Type C for cut, type K for keep. I want to hear from you in the comments section. The gap between Devin Singletary and Eric Gray is worth way more than saving $500,000. Also, if you cut Devin, who's your RB3? Are you going to say Eric Gray's your RB3? Is Dante Turbo Miller RB3? I can get behind that, but there's nobody on this roster that is better than Motor Singletary outside of Cam Skattebo and Tyrone Tracy. So why are we cutting him? Oh, yeah, because the Giants are in trouble with the cap. If I heard that and I got $1 every time I heard it, I would be pretty rich. I am exhausted with the idea that the Giants can't make moves because they're in cap hell. But maybe y'all are right because the Giants only have $1.1 million in cap space, right? There's nothing they can do about that. They're just going to have to figure it out. Maybe they have to cut some good players like Brian Burns, or maybe you got to trade Dexter Lawrence. If you think the Giants are in trouble with the cap, you got to watch this show more because it's just extremely false. You know why? Because the Giants can touch a button and create $16 more million in cap space. You restructure Brian Burns. He cannot say no. He cannot say yes. You just press a button and you save $16 million. If you want to press another button and save another $12.5 million, you press the Andrew Thomas restructure button. So then you're up to $28.6 million and created cap space off of doing absolutely nothing. And if you want to save another $10 million in cap space, you touch the Dexter Lawrence number. And for the Giants, this isn't something that I'm necessarily against because all you're doing is pushing their money a little bit into the future. And the New York Giants have over $31 million in projected cap space in 2026. They can kind of tweak with the cap a little bit right now. And as I've learned in this league, the cap is fake. The cap can always be manipulated. Look at the team down in New Orleans. The Saints have been $100 million over the cap for 100 years in a row. And every year, without having to give up good players, they find a way to get under the salary cap. So I say all that to say it would be idiotic to cut Devin Singletary. Not because he's a great player, but because you want to save $1.5 million when you would have to sign another running back to be on this team. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. We'll close today's show rapid fire with some cut candidates. And Evan Neal is someone that I think is on the roster bubble for the New York Giants. I know that they're thinking about moving him to guard, and there's been talk they're going to practice him at guard. But if he doesn't work out there, then yeah, you could see Evan Neal potentially on the chopping block. So I would keep your eyes on him. Daniel Bellinger is another name to monitor. The Giants have Theo Johnson. They like Chris Manhertz. It'll be really a competition between Bellinger, Fedoni, and Greg Dulcich. I think Eric Gray is going to get cut. I don't think it'll be Motor Singletary. I think it'll be Eric Gray, and that'll be the end of his time as a New York Football Giant. I think on the defensive line, Raheem Nunez-Roches could be a cut candidate. You brought back some people on the D-line. You added more players as well, and you drafted someone in the 3rd round that I think is going to be an impact player right away. And I think Graham Gano could be a cut candidate as well. If you cut him after June 1st, you save over $4 million. He's missed a lot of time over the last 2 years, and he's missed too many kicks to just have him guaranteed be on this roster. There's other people that will be cut. Not saying it's impossible that Singletary would be cut, but if you're just trying to create cap space, there's other ways to go about it. I want you to name a surprise cut candidate for me down in the comment section that's on the New York Giants. Who do you think could get cut that shocks some people? I don't think he will, but I'm starting to hear some noise that Jalen Hyatt's going to have to earn a roster spot this year. We'll see about that. Make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_. Give me a follow over there. We can talk more Giants ball. And as always, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and hit that thumbs up icon as well. We'll have a video out later on the channel, so I want to see you then. Subscribe, turn those notifications on, and let's go Giants.